We're living in a increasingly more polarizing world, right? Originally, we live on Earth, which is a planet of duality. This is a school of duality where we can experience negative and positive polarities and neutral polarities, right? We can experience both, but depending on what we choose, negative or positive. Right now, what we're seeing is humanity expressing negatives, right? That's what we're seeing the most, right? I'll explain the reasons why later on in this video. Um, but originally, Earth is a planet of duality. This is a school of us learning to manipulate the energies of negative and positive, right? This is a school of transmuting negative to positive or vice versa, right? We're learning to be aware of, we're doing that already, but we're slowly learning that we have more power to do this within us, right? As humans, we're slowly learning this as we go through our lives on this school of what we call Earth, right? Only difference now is that um you got the media, right? Everybody has access to the media. The media is in everyone's faces, right? Everybody's aware of the media, right? It's not like back in the days, media. There was different forms of media, but it was more um, less 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 aggressive, less in your face. Now media is everywhere. Everybody has their phones, right, carrying around them, right? And when I mean back in the day, I'm talking about maybe 100 years ago, 200 years ago, right? I didn't live back then, but I know enough to know that media is totally different, right? Because of technology, right? So nowadays, everybody has a voice, right? Most people have the voice, right? It's uh, increasingly every human being on this earth is has the ability to let their voices be heard by other people, right? And so that's what you're seeing in today's world is that people are expressing how they feel about their lives, how they feel about other people's lives, how they feel about what's going on in the world, right? And they're expressing then mostly is being expressed negatively, right? Mostly is being expressed is it has a negative expression, right? People are complaining, right? Expressing how they feel, right? Most of humanity is expressing how they feel, right? Now that everyone has a microphone in front of them or has access to the microphone in front of them, has access to the camera in front of them, they're expressing how they feel. And most of that is a lot of negativity that's coming up, that's being expressed, right? And it's not a bad thing and it's not a good thing. It's just this is part of the process of us evolving and us in order for us to awaken, in order for us to progress our consciousness, we need to express and let go of a lot of things that have been pulling us back, right? And so you're seeing a lot of negative, negative things happening in the world. I'm not gonna go into each and every one of them, but this is part of the process, right? You're going to experience a polarity of negative and positive, right? This is part of the process. This is part of the contract of living on earth, and view it as a learning because this is a learning curve for us as a collective, right? It's not only you personally, but it's a collective thing, right? This expression is just a process for us to let go, right? So don't be surprised to see more um, negative things going on in this world. Whether it could be violence, it could be in the form of violence. Most of the time, it's in the form of violence. Don't be surprised that it's comes in that form, right? You've been seeing this for a long time. You live on Earth, you've been seeing this for a long time. But as a collective, this needs to be expressed, right? And it's very hard to see it as a neutral thing, right? Because we've been so programmed um, to think that to not understand what's going on in this world, what truly is going on in this world, and why we are living this life, right? We don't understand why we're living this life. Most of us don't, like, right? We've been programmed to be confused, right? So it's important for you to just stay centered at this time, right? Be in between the polarities. Be in between the polarities. Stay centered, right? They're going to be two different sides. There are going to be many sides. Stay centered in the sides. What do I mean by staying centered? Stay present, right? You don't have to choose one of these sides. You can choose. If you choose one of these sides, it's a learning process for you, right? Maybe you were part of one of these sides. I used to be part of these different polarities, right? I used to be a supporter of different political parties, right? Until I started to see it for what it is, right? That's part of the learning process, is to see it for what it is. And most people aren't ready for that, right? It takes you to see it for what it is, and then after that, for you to let it go, right? But first, you have to be present. You have to stay centered in yourself, right? So we're seeing that process play out on Earth right now, right? Allow it to play out, right? Just see it for what it is, right? It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just a learning process for all of us, right? We're all learning different things about this experience. Unfortunately, people have to die. Um, Unfortunately, we have to witness violence against each other. We have to witness all this abuse. We have to witness all this heaviness, heavy emotional actions that are being perpetrated against each other. Unfortunately, we have to go through this process. But there is a higher purpose for this. You have to understand is there is a higher purpose, but it requires you to stay centered, to not be attached to any of these things that's going on around you, because it is going on around you for a purpose, for you to witness it so you can understand yourself more, right? So in this process of polarization, increased polarization, it's important for you to just be as centered as possible, right? Be as centered as possible. Be as be as neutral as possible. Be as present as possible. Go within yourself as possible. Understand yourself as possible, right? Thank you for watching this video.